Two balls and a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires, swinging a drive, deep left field. This is way back. Walk the ball. Chris Taylor.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined tonight by Matt Moreno. And Matt, an old friend back in the news, linked to potentially to the Dodgers. TMZ, creeper standing outside the airport, gets Kenley Jansen in front of a camera, asks him some questions about Atlanta, asks him some questions about the Dodgers, and I guess the headline to me is he doesn't seem to be ruling out the possibility of a return to the Dodgers. He lives in Los Angeles. What are your thoughts on a Kenley Jansen potential reunion next season?
I think on one hand it would make sense. I think the fans especially may have a newfound appreciation for Kenley after witnessing, some struggles with Craig Kimbrell, and I'll just sort of leave it at that.
Yeah, the Kenley Jansen experience doesn't seem all that bad anymore, does it?
No, and that's what, I know you and we recognize that Kenley wasn't what he was, 3 years ago, and we kind of reasoned that every player kind of goes through that, but at the end of the day, he was still, when he was good, he was still pretty good, and I think the 2022 season further supported that notion. But I know we'll get into a deeper discussion about it here in a second. Outside that, I don't know if I would say it's a likely reunion.
Yeah, it does feel like, just from a roles perspective, like he has been away for a year. So if he does come back, it's unlikely that he would come back with the same sort of stranglehold on the quote-unquote closer role as maybe he has had in previous years. He would be coming back for a second stint off of a season that was, honestly, when I look at the numbers, better than I remembered. I know for much of the year, he was kind of compared to Kimbrell as if to say, hey, as bad as Kimbrell's been, Jansen has been just as bad. Jansen finished, he allowed just one earned run in his last 11 appearances. And when I dug in the numbers, I mean, there's some really good stuff from Kenley Jansen. He was 97th percentile in expected ERA this season. He had his best strikeout percentage since 2017. And as I said, just one earned run in his last 11 appearances. And so at the end of the day, the 3.38 ERA is maybe not perfect for what you want. The 11.95 strikeouts per nine is still very good. Again, that number, one of his best marks in the last 5 years. But the expected ERA of 2.34 was really, really good. And so I think there's the role argument, but I actually think you look at it on paper, he's a pretty good pitcher. Now, what role would he have with the Dodgers? Nobody wants Kenley Jansen coming back to be the everyday closer, as I said. This is a guy who just turned 35 at the end of September. But I mean, if you could get him on a reasonable deal and he's a guy that's comfortable maybe being in a fireman role, maybe sort of being a back end of the bullpen without being a closer, I mean, are you interested?
I would be interested in Kenley in general terms. I think, though, for me, similar to at least the perception with Kimbrell, is that Kenley sort of needs to be, closing games to be at his most effective. Yeah. I think that holds true. And so I don't know if Kenley would want to come back if it means that he's not necessarily the closer. And maybe the Dodgers can talk him into, hey, we want to do this, but, you're one of two closers we might use throughout the season type thing. And perhaps he's open to that. But if the Dodgers were to approach him and say, we went into the postseason with this philosophy of not really having a set closer, this is what we want to do for a full year, I don't know if that's going to entice Kenley as much as I think, I don't think he wanted to leave the Dodgers. I think his first choice this year, when he was a free agent prior to the season, obviously, was to remain with the team, and it just wasn't going to work out.
Yeah, I mean, the reports were, and you can go to Dodger Blue and find all the old stuff. I mean, he was looking for a 3-year deal. The Dodgers reportedly offered him 2 years. He turned it down. The Dodgers went elsewhere. He ends up signing a 1-year, $16 million deal with the Braves. And what's interesting about that is he only got 1 year, which tells me a little bit about maybe the level of interest that was had around the league for a guy like Jansen. And yet he got $16 million to go play for the Braves, which tells you that there was a market for Kenley Jansen. It was just on a short-term deal. And so, I mean, after the season he just put together, I think a 1-year deal of more than $10 million is definitely still in play for a guy with the name recognition of Kenley Jansen. And for me, that immediately takes him out of the running for the Dodgers. I think they've got Blake Trinan, Daniel Hudson both back, making a little bit of money, obviously some health concerns in both places. I would be more interested in a guy like Chris Martin potentially returning, I think, than Kenley Jansen coming back, in addition to Evan Phillips, who's still under team control, Alex Vesia, Brusdar Graterol, etc., etc., etc. So for me, Jansen, very good. Again, that 97th percentile in expected ERA, that's maybe my favorite number, taking into account swing and miss, as well as exit velocity and all sorts of stuff. One of the best in baseball, but like you said, I just don't see a fit for him on the Dodgers. So let us know what you guys think below. We know Kenley Jansen and the Dodgers, potentially controversial connection. There's some people that love him. There's some people that probably never want to see him again. But again, I was impressed with the numbers that I saw from Jansen once I dug into it a little bit. That's Matt Moreno. My name is Jeff Spiegel. As always, we appreciate you joining us. Check out DodgerBlue.com. Still putting out content every single day throughout the offseason, even as the World Series is going on. So check that out. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast on the Blue Wire Podcast Network. We're going to continue putting content on there as well. And of course, Dodger Blue 1958 on social media everywhere. That's Matt. My name's Jeff. As always, go Dodgers.